Hey, welcome to the Medicine Cabinet podcast. Now here's one of our sponsors. Pay the bills, gotta pay the bill.
This episode has been sponsored by Jellyfish Treasury. Jellyfish Treasury is a line of jewelry and other custom-created conceptual and sentimental treasures designed to both celebrate and contribute to life's beauty.
You can collab with the jeweler and put the things you love in your accessories.
Jellyfish Treasury began as a series of earrings with images of artists collaged with recycled materials, antique findings, and colorful beads from all around the world.
Custom colors, custom fit styles for your vision.
There are many ready-made items available, though the real heart of Jellyfish Treasury is making something out of the buyer's sentiment and the maker's imagination.
There's already a product made. If you're not sure what you want, check it out, get some ideas, make an order. Go.
Adorn yourself with your muse.
Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning into the Medicine Cabinet podcast. And of course, thank you to our sponsors for supporting the show and everything we're doing over here. This episode right here is not our first episode, but it's the preview episode of what the Medicine Cabinet is. And the first person we have, this episode we have on David Eisenbach. He's a historian, he's a teacher, he's a writer. If you check R.I.P. to Hugh Hefner, and I was watching this Hugh Hefner documentary, and there he was, David Eisenbach, saying dropping knowledge on us again. But yeah, check out this episode to see what knowledge he has to drop on us about Christopher Columbus and the Columbus Monument. He and I have contrasting views, but we come to an understanding at the end, and I think you should check out the episode to see how we get to this understanding. But if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to comment on our Facebook. That's the Medicine Cabinet Podcast, or hit us up at Gmail. So if you have any questions for the guests or for us, that's themedcabpod It's the same thing for Instagram at themedcabpod, and for our Twitter, it's just at the Medcab, THEMEDCAB. Well, check out the episode, enjoy the episode, and let us know how you feel. All right, until next time. See you soon. Thank you guys Thank you guys for hanging out with the Medicab again. It's the Medicine Cabinet podcast, bringing you healing and relieving information. And today we have David Eisenbach here again with us. Revisits. We were hanging out at the
Music and Politics on the Rooftop. That was called. Thank you guys to everyone who came out. If you guys have seen this and did come out, that was an honor to be able to share that music with you guys and to be able to just be on this man's rooftop. So thank you guys for being here.
We discussed like a lot of important topics on the roof out there. We enjoyed some music. And then we got back into the music after the topics. And I just wanted to touch some of those things again because people were getting all emotional, but we're also learning at the same time. And I thought it'd be good for you guys to hear about some of those things. And like,
let's just get into it.
Yeah. The topic that caused, I think, the most emotion was the topic of the monuments and the Christopher Columbus statue. At Columbus.
For New York City.
In New York City.
Yeah.
And of course there's a bigger issue that we're having and engaging in throughout the entire nation. But in New York, this is the hottest subject. It was even the subject of, came up during the mayor's debate. And it came up on the roof. And I felt that, we didn't have enough time to totally dig down and get into it as much as that issue is worth us to do. So I thought we could do tonight and have a discussion about it.
So I guess for me though, it's like, how do we attack this problem? Like this is such a big problem of just, there's so many factors to me, like about when I hear my friends talk about it, they get emotional over different things. And to me, maybe they're related, sometimes they're separate. But it's like, as someone who doesn't know anything about this issue, where are the pressure points? Where do I need to look first? And then describe the problem to me so that I can at least approach it in some sort of real way.
Well, I think there's one way of looking at it. That's historically. All right, let's talk about the statue, the history of the statue. It was created and built in 1892. And it was built through the donations of Italian-American immigrants literally nickels and dimes that they just pooled together to build this statue as an honor of this great Italian hero who contributed significantly to the building of America. Now, this was really important because at the time, Italian Americans were not considered white people. They weren't part of the American fabric in the way that they would become. And so that this was their mark. This was their way of saying, we're one of you. We're a part of it. Okay?
You could build a statue then.
You could build a statue. And then the celebration of Columbus Day was an important kind of another step towards being accepted.
When did Columbus Day become a holiday?
Well, it's interesting. It was Franklin Roosevelt that made Columbus Day a national holiday in 1937. It had been celebrated in New York City for decades, but this was a way in which Franklin Roosevelt was now acknowledging the importance of Italian Americans in the fabric of America.
So Columbus Day was just like a party in New York City at first. That's the way it started.
It was sort of like St. Patrick's Day,
Okay,
but for the Italians, right? When we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, we're not celebrating St. Patrick, right? It's a celebration of it's totally part
So
of it.
that's Columbus Day. That's core
for the Italians.
Okay, for the Italians.
Right?
Okay.
So that's why it has so much meaning for Italians, okay? Because it means something deeper than just Christopher Columbus.
Right.
And it means sort of being part of an America that had discriminated against that.
Right.
So it's a point of pride.
Yeah.
And
It's like a
that's,
Rocky story.
It is. And it's important for us to understand that where their anger, when you talk about getting rid of Columbus Day or getting rid of the Columbus statue,
Okay.
they feel as though you are not
Who's they?
the Italian Americans, let's say. They feel as though you are not acknowledging their pain, their oppression, their experience, and that you're taking something away from them that they earned.
Okay.
So that's an
Because I
important
could see how the
perspective.
same people like in the South would say that about the Confederate statues. You know, they'd say like, well, this is part of the history, and we have so much attached to not just the Confederacy, but the fact that he led troops that were my grandfathers and whatever.
Right. Without drawing a parallel,
Right.
because, all these analogies, they're a bit problematic, right?
Okay.
But just doing it on their own terms. They're not seeing Columbus, right, as a hero because he killed all those Indians, right? Or was, defending some oppressive regime from Spain, right? They're seeing him as an Italian who helped build the country that we all love.
Yeah, the New World.
And the New World, and exactly, right? I mean, let's also acknowledge it's not just the United States, right?
There was also the point I brought up about like in Germany, like there's no statues or anything like glorifying Hitler at all. But Hitler's whole intention was a utopia of all blue eyes and blonde hair.
The Aryan figure.
And he thought that was the perfect thing. And truly in his heart, I believe that's what he truly felt. Even though it was crazy to.
Like he thought he was doing good.
He thought he was doing good, and I feel with the Christopher Columbus thing, he founded what was already here, same with the Indians, and and we have today what is America by killing off the Indians and stuff like that. But I don't think we should celebrate that genocide. But I think there must be another Italian figure that could replace him, say for that monument, or because like in Arizona where they're naming some of the big arenas after some of the tribes instead of like these big companies, I think that could be a possible solution.
I guess the downside to that is Columbus is a historical fact, right? The celebration of Columbus is a historical fact. The fact that he was one of the most important figures in the history of the world, right, is indisputable. Now, what his meaning is, that's what we now, and that has actually changed in the course of 100
But that's actually where I want to say. So we talked a little bit the last time we did, an episode about that a lot of his story is fabricated. That he was sort of selected as this figure to represent the discovery of America, when in fact, like, he didn't even land where, you know, we read in the text.
Well, we said it was functional. I think that was the good word, right?
Yeah, sure, but the point being that, like, so he was a figure, and he became, like, the representation of what Columbus is has superseded actually who he is and what the facts are, right? And isn't there something about there being statues and some things that are named after that reinforce that? That reinforce the myth of it. Not the sentimentality of this of the Italian American movement and
Just the image.
but the image of a figure that is fabricated that actually goes a lot further beyond Italian Americans, because it's what we all read in our history books, and it's a huge figure and it's a lie.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this: that every statue on Earth is a representation based on a lie. Whatever kind of history we learn in our history books growing up, they're all lies. And
In some, I guess it's like in some degree, what is the lie? You know, how much of it is the lie?
Because that one is
That's
like
where
a
the
pretty
reading
big
between the lines
lie,
and history comes in, right?
right?
well, wait, I'm not.
Well, I'm just wondering if you're, because imagine what I think you're saying is that in some ways all history is a lie. It's just in what degree
mutually agreed upon
Yeah.
lies.
To what? Yeah. To what degree? Or,
And so that the Abraham Lincoln, okay, right, great hero, he freed the slaves. Well, he was about to compromise, and if he had his way, he would have compromised with the South to avoid the Civil War, and slavery would have continued, and he would have supported a constitutional amendment guaranteeing the right of the slave owners to own their slaves, which would have meant, if he got his way, that slavery would have existed for decades, probably to the early 20th century, right? That is Abraham Lincoln. Is that the history? Is that the myth we are celebrating with the Lincoln Memorial? No, right? So what I'm saying is, if you know enough about any historical figure celebrated in any statue, you're going to say, my God, this is based on a lie.
mm,
And Columbus is one of them.
okay.
Now, one thing that we have...
But how
Yeah.
great of a lie?
So-
Like, because Columbus's story is very specifically was changed a lot.
That was-
Whereas Lincoln, like from like what I've read about, that he did grapple a lot with this idea of like whether or not freeing the slaves was the right decision to make, but had that conversation in himself, and there's like letters that reinforce that that's what he went through, right? Before making that decision. And maybe there were moments where he was gonna make a poor judgment, and that's something that we can like think about, but Columbus's story is changed completely in history books versus what it was.
Well, that's right, and that's why we have to now, in my
I
opinion.
don't think Lincoln is that extent changed.
Well, you're wrong.
That
The story of Lincoln has changed tremendously over the decades, and so as has the story of Columbus. The fact is that when these Italians built that statue in 1892, it was a clean story. It was a complete whitewash, right? That Columbus was the great explorer, and he was essential to building up America. The essential kind of missing piece here was the fact that he was a slave trader. He was the guy who really first started bringing African slaves to the New World, and actually created an entire kind of plantation, sugar plantation, slave trading network in order to fund his journeys. And that was the beginning, really, of the mass forced migration of Africans to the New World, which shaped the lives we live in, right? That aspect, coupled with the killing of numerous Indians during his explorations, but then the subsequent conquistadors who came over, and then we're talking about mass killings, mass enslavement of entire tribes, is a story that was later on brought into the Columbus narrative. And that really doesn't take place until the 1960s.
When people start talking about it.
When people start talking about it, when kids start reading about it,
Is it
when
just
this
because
actually
they-
becomes part of the history book.
But is it just because it
That's
got
the-
discovered around that time, or was it always people? Oh, the historians always knew it just like wasn't for the regular folks. you know,
In the 1960s, we had a kind of a mass rewriting of just about everything, right? The way we were looking at the world, right, changes. The way we looked at civil rights changed. The way we looked at women, gays, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing happened with history and historical figures.
And that's what I think. And that's what I think. And that's what I think is like kind of happening now. That change is happening now. So like, so that's why I had asked if like, say we found out the name of the original tribe that was like around this New York area, would that be a possible solution? Will that be comfortable to give respect to those original tribes of the original land that was killed and murdered, saying by the people that founded America? Or is that like just out of order? That's like just or is that just totally stupid?
But it does. But in upstate New York, for example, like many things are named after Native American tribes, and there is sometimes like that is looked at as maybe problematic as well.
Yeah, to me also it's an Italian monument. Why are we giving away the Italian monument to the Indians? Like that seems unfair to the Italians now.
I'm just saying
this is my point.
Right?
I'm just saying they're rich.
Like unfair. I would be positive.
Who was here first, the Indians or the
It
Italians?
doesn't matter. It's like they.
Why they?
That's what they always say about the Indians. It doesn't matter.
Well,
It doesn't. That's
you
what
know,
it's like.
it
It's just
doesn't matter,
like that's what we've always done
But
to
then
the
that's
Indians.
how far back do you go, right? Like.
So just fuck them. Is that what we're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. Like
You know what I'm saying? Like how many full-blooded Indians have you met in your life?
Well, then not many.
I'm related to some.
Huh?
In California.
Huh?
I'm related to some.
Full-blooded Indians?
Yeah.
Could you name one?
Linda Navarro.
That's a full-blooded
But
Indian.
I'm related to her.
Full-blooded Indian.
Full-blooded.
Say on both parents. All right, so that's one of the few.
Right,
So-
I know.
Exactly. So
And they have their things, but this was built by Italians.
and it was stolen by the Italians or who?
No, we're talking about the Columbus Circle statue, right? And
Yeah.
if you're talking about just giving
The
away
land.
the land and
I'm
the
not
space
saying to
to
give it
now
away.
build
I'm not-
something else that
I'm not saying-
signifies something
I'm not
completely
saying-
different. It seems unfair.
I'm not because like Christopher Columbus Day is not going anywhere.
Well, that's the thing where.
Well, is that what
so
you're
I'm
trying to
hearing
say?
this-
Is take rid of the whole?
No. Hold on. When I'm hearing what you're saying,
I'm just saying it's a
I almost
possible
like am
solution. I'm not
more.
saying do this or that.
This
You know,
story
so
behind
that-
this monument, the story behind this monument of people pulling together their nickels and dimes to build something. When you were telling that part of the story, I started thinking about like what happened a few months ago with like the bull with the balls that we all know on Wall Street, the Wall Street bull, and like the other statue that was placed out there a few months ago with the little girl standing up to the bull. And the artist came out, a lot of people were really celebrating that, and then it came out that this was placed by a corporation. And, the bull was built by an artist, and it had all these, it had history, it had meaning that this girl, which is, it's symbolizing like, a feminist movement and things like that, but it didn't have history, and it was put by a corporation. And in fact, on the statue, it said that.
Yeah, let me just add, it was built and commissioned by State Street, a hedge fund that had just settled. The reason why they even commissioned that statue was because they just settled with the federal government in order to not be prosecuted criminally for defrauding their own customers. Okay. They ponied up, I forget how many millions of dollars. And then as a PR move, they commissioned this statue.
Right.
So
talk about fake. Talk about like a fake thing that's being put out, and people got really reactive about it and forgot the history of the bull, and then that. I don't know how far spread the information did get to me. Hopefully other people, but. So when you're talking about the history of Columbus being built, even though I'm pretty vehemently that is the way that the story of Columbus being told, I think is something that triggers a lot of people, and I don't see the purpose in the holiday being preserved, but that I'm more sold on the statue itself with that backstory than the holiday.
Well, the holiday is not about Columbus.
But that doesn't matter. To me, that doesn't matter. Like a statue that was built by people pulling together money and putting that together, that to me, I understand preserving that. It wasn't like a bullshit thing that was put up at the drop of a dime, right? It had meaning. the holiday itself, like that is a title on a calendar, which is one, huge. Like anything that's gonna be a title on a calendar, I think it should be, it should feel fair. It should feel like it's not, I don't think that Columbus deserves a holiday. I don't care if it's something that certain people want to celebrate. I don't care.
But now
St.
we have
Patrick's
the
Day is
monuments
about
of
white.
holidays.
St.
I want to get off
That's all.
holidays.
It's all about the same thing.
No,
Like,
it's
to me,
not.
like that.
It was like
It is though.
what I was
It is.
looking
Let's get back to the money.
for. What I was looking for was a possible solution, and like,
Yeah.
and I said
Well,
like
to
the
me,
whole,
like, a
I said the
holiday
whole
should be
Indian thing, saying it was shut.
Indigenous Peoples' Day. That's been an idea.
It,
That's been
it
thrown out
was,
there.
I felt it was like automatically shut down and attacked, and like this feels that feels comfortable. I could if they took down the holiday and people complained about the monument, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I would stand up for the monument. So like, yo,
Well, let's stick with the money.
But they've done that idea has been put out for the holiday of changing.
well, as far as the
changing the holiday.
as far as the
to
holiday,
People's
most
Day.
people I know saying like don't really celebrate it. You know, like
Oh, but we got the
they
day
take the day off, but like they're not.
We're
like,
given the day off.
yeah, it's given on it's given all around the country, but
Well, we're
they-
getting off track here. This is the problem when I feel like when I talk to people in the city too, is that I don't know anything about this issue, right? But everyone starts to get really emotional about all these different aspects when we're just talking about a monument.
We're talking about
And they get, right, people get really touchy and they get it into bigger issues, which are totally other issues, and I get them. What you guys all said are valid in some way. But whatever, even if it's connected, hold on, Lindsay. Even if it's connected, it's not the issue, which is the monument. So if you connect it to something else and you're passionate about it, I don't care. Right now, the discussion I'm trying to solve and the issue I'm trying to solve is Columbus Circle Monument. So don't bring anything else in right now. That's the way I feel like when I start to look at things like that. Like it's just like we gotta talk about the actual issue
you
of
can't
Columbus
like
Circle
make
Monument.
demands like that.
Then how can you ignore the things that are connected to it?
because it's unmanageable otherwise.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. It starts to become too big of a Pandora's box, and
But
then I can't.
how is
see
that
it.
Pandora's
Okay,
box,
alright.
Columbus Monument, Columbus holiday?
It's too fat. Maybe we gotta work up to
Alright,
making that
separate
connection.
conversation.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
same person that's
All right,
connected.
so let's get to the monument then. So like
Yeah.
that. All right, so all right, you said the people brought it all together. So how do you want to deal with the whole genocide part and the whole kill? Like how are we gonna expose that?
Right,
Like,
exactly. Keep the monument. The monument was built by good-hearted people for a good-hearted reason, and that was to celebrate Italian Americans.
Is there any way to glorify the people without glorifying him?
Well, what I'm saying is that the monument itself should not be knocked down. That would be
Because the monument is for those people, right?
for those people.
So is there, any way,
those people.
is there any way to glorify those people and give them what they want without glorifying the genocide and finding another Italian?
Well,
figure?
right now, I
So there's
don't.
no other Italian figure
What I
other
would
than
say
Columbus
is this.
that was great. That could be put on a monument. He's the only one. He's the only great Italian. So the best Italian was the genocide.
What we're
The one that brought genocide and slavery.
what we're talking about here is
Is glorifying
the guy.
Yeah.
This is the one they chose back in 1892.
Yeah, slave master.
All right, and they didn't know that.
Yeah.
Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
Okay, they didn't know
A
that.
lot of Trump supporters hide themselves too, saying like. No, I'm not saying. No, I'm just saying like
No,
people.
I agree, but I also, that's not the point that he's making.
I know, and like they would, and people would like they wouldn't hide the badness of their God, you know, this Columbus God, you know, saying they want to hide that.
Both sides are right.
These were Italian immigrants, people with minimal education, who did not know, and 99.9% of Americans, even the most educated, didn't know at the time in 1892 what a bad guy Columbus was.
But we're
All right.
educated now.
No, I understand that, but let's just talk about what this then means.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to then knock down that thing that was built by good-hearted, hard-working Americans, And then to say to those generations that came after that, your ancestors who built that, well, we're not regarding their contribution. That the thing they built.
Yeah.
All right. Here is now a statue of who?
Another Italian.
I understand, but that they have absolutely no emotional connection to
Yo,
this. But you gotta put it in a generational way, right?
Yeah.
So this is now, and this is a new statue which we're creating in 2000. We'll get around to in 2018, which has no historical connection whatsoever to the Italian American community. This is artificial. It would, it's sort of pointless.
I'm just asking, is there another Italian figure that was like second to him?
But the point,
So
hold on,
there's nobody.
I think that the point that's
So
being
the
missed
best
right now-
Italian is the
Italian American.
the best Italian American is the one, like the one that we have to represent is the one that brought them.
I'm just saying, this is the one that was chosen. This is the one who's been there throughout the
I
decades.
know. I'm just asking, is there another one that could be second?
Well, it doesn't, Chris,
There's
the
none.
point is, it's not, that's
So
not the
there's
point.
no Italian figure.
That's not the point. The
I feel like
point
we're going
is-
in a spiral around
The
that
point is
circle.
that.
No, we got
Hold on.
there's no second Italian figure. We got
Let
it.
it.
All right.
The point is that the statue has already been built, so
Yeah.
they probably, there could have been a different character, but
But
it's
they
already
didn't
happened.
choose it. They didn't choose
So
that
if
guy.
we were to take
They
down
chose
that,
Columbus.
it was built at a time when that was chosen, and so if we were to take it down and replace it with something else, it's now a 2017 monument and not an 1892 monument.
Correct. And it would not have been built
That's the point.
by those
It wouldn't have been
immigrants
built by those people.
who built
And
New
you
York.
said the stories
It'd
and
be built by
education
us.
started to change in the 1960s, but it can't change now.
No,
No, or
it
it
must
should
change
change
now.
now. Should
It
change
must
now.
So to not change it, I mean to change it, we have to keep the same thing.
Well, here we got some.
That's why I'm
Yeah,
confused. Because we're all talking about changing
No.
education,
No, it-
but we're saying we have to keep the same genocide little figure.
Well,
like-
here's where we get to my plan.
yeah, okay.
My vision for what I call a new Columbus Circle. That we keep the statue, but we augment it. There are three plazas surrounding the statue. We augment those plazas with statue or relief panel and educational panels that talk about the three aspects of the conquest of the Negro, the enslavement, and the immigration that shaped North and South America, that are the legacies of Columbus. So rather than destroying Columbus, we use the Columbus statue as an opportunity to educate people about the legacy of Columbus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
But-
I am
but-
sold on the.
Like,
But first, I just want to be able to see it.
wait, can we teach that in the schools?
Of course, but
Say, like-
sticking with the monument.
All right.
Because I'm trying to
I
imagine,
mean,
say the list one more time. If I was to imagine, like, the statues here, right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
And I'm looking at a triangle around it, right?
It's a circle.
Or a circle, sorry, but there's 3 points. There's, when you said,
Well,
those
there are
are
three kind of slices to the pie.
Yeah, and what were the 3 again? Recap it.
Conquest, enslavement or slavery,
Yeah.
and immigration.
Okay, so like you're walking through a narrative, right?
You're walking through a narrative.
To get to, the story of the American dream.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a circle, right?
Yeah.
And these are all pieces of the pie of the story of America or the Americas.
Yeah.
And these are the 3 things that have defined us, that make us who we are, right? It's conquest, it's slavery, it is immigration.
Okay.
And we have now, this is the more complete story of Columbus.
Okay, I can get on with that.
So here's one. I'm sold on this idea. I think of the building of the monument, but what I'm struggling with, which is why
It's
I'm
more
going.
like that.
Hold on, I'm gonna bring back that holiday thing again, just because. I need to. And it's not because. Hold on. Let me
why-
finish.
that's
Let me
why we
finish.
stick with the-
No, I
that's-
can't.
that's why I went
This is
that place, 'cause we
this
can't
is
talk
like-
about the
I
school
can't not do it. And the
I'm
reason is,
confused.
hold on, let me
Okay,
finish.
yeah.
The reason is that you can put up a plaque and that some people are going to read it. It does not take away from the image that is there, which is an image that reinforces this story that we were all fed and that maybe could change
We
in
can't
American
talk about
textbooks, but has not yet.
We can't talk about
What do you mean we can't talk
Well,
about
that's why you can talk
We
about
need to talk about that. That's the whole freaking point.
being
No,
sarcastic.
we're not.
I'm being
Let me just make a point, like fair and clear, in my opinion, we are not talking about shit through the monuments.
Really?
And I
You think
understand,
so?
hold on, I understand the point of not taking a monument down that has that history and putting up a plaque because hopefully somebody will read it, right? But a plaque does not, a plaque is not the thing.
You're calling it a plaque.
You call it a plaque.
I did not call it
It
a plaque.
was called a plaque,
I
and
called
not only that.
Wait, let me explain.
But-
I called it a relief panel.
Okay.
What form?
Regardless of what it's called, my point is my point, which is that I don't feel like, I get what you're saying in terms of if we're gonna preserve the monument and if it's gonna be preserved for a purpose that is honoring a culture that put it up, which I hear that. I hear that and I respect it. And I agree with the idea of putting up a plaque because we want to acknowledge this complex history. But what I am saying is that that plaque doesn't resolve the issue to
The
me.
issues, you know.
Of like
But-
what's happening in
but for some
history
reason
books
we're not
and
allowed
what
to
the
talk
holiday
about that. It's
reinforces,
like-
and I really feel like
Yeah.
like how many holidays we get as a nation.
It gets shut down. Like we try
Like,
to
and
talk
that's
about the
why,
school
yeah.
and the holidays.
And that's why
Yeah,
it matters.
right.
That's what I'm saying is that is why it matters to people.
We can stay in a lane where it only defends, you know, but like to have, because we're gonna need to talk about the holidays and like teaching and education.
Okay, but for now, for this conversation tonight, let's
Exactly.
But people aren't gonna be,
Okay.
people aren't gonna be sold in general if you don't acknowledge
But
what you're
here's-
part.
Wait.
Because for me, I'm gonna be stuck on take that monument down if we're not acknowledging.
And like this is the thing. This is the thing.
Cool things.
Originally, why I was so
Gotta be
interested in the whole politics thing because it's so hard for me to get into it because it's like nothing is ever like nobody ever goes full throttle for anybody brown. You know what I'm saying? And like, but if it's Italian Americans, Irish Americans, everybody like they're behind it like full throttle. And like they can say they get like a black governor, this and that, but like I still don't feel the difference in the way that I'm living. You know what I'm saying? Like I still feel the same struggle, and then I get emotional that I'm the crazy one.
Well, this is
You know what I'm saying?
This is a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's important in terms of like if we're trying to connect it.
But
to
you see
something
the
that's
stress of the
bigger.
monument, you know what I'm saying? But like,
Yeah.
but
And it gets
my
shut down.
stress is just me being crazy. And instead of a whole, but even when a whole set of people are feeling the same stress from these type of things. And the things, I'm not saying you can take it down. I'm just asking for different solutions.
Well-
and this solution you were talking about, it kind of opened my ear a little bit. But like I still have other.
Well, what did you think about that solution?
To be honest, my shoulders were like this, and then it made me like this. But I still had questions. You know?
Well, let's talk about your questions.
Yeah,
What questions do you have?
Not questions, but like feels like something's still wrong. It's because like the whole holiday thing and the whole make sure the kids get it from the school. If I could, if there was a solution to make sure that like the real history was being taught in classes, or if like the holiday wasn't such a big
Exactly.
phenomenon, then it would fully ease the shoulders.
Right. Well, look, leaving aside the curriculum in the classroom, here we have an opportunity to reshape the entire space and experience of Columbus Circle so that it does educate people, generations of people, New Yorkers, tourists, anybody who comes there, right, will now be taken on this journey. And they will learn something that maybe they were never taught in school. This is an opportunity that a new Columbus Circle will offer.
So what would like Conquest, Act 1, right?
Yeah.
You walk into the entrance of the park. What does Conquest look like in your opinion?
Well, now I'm a historian, right? I'm not a designer.
Yeah,
right?
or just like what are the points that they're going to walk through?
What I would say is that this is a story. This is the history,
Yeah.
right? But it's going to be told visually and in text.
Okay.
Right? And the idea is for that experience of that to connect up with the statue and the experience of the statue to be shaped and shadowed by the amendment, by the augmentation of of the statute.
But what would the amendment? What would be some of the points on that little thing that's going to be the shadow to the figure of Columbus, right? In terms of conquest, what we're saying is the American shadow has this behind this figure, right? Behind this thing is the shadow. What is the shadow of conquest? What are we saying there to kind of bring that light towards Columbus?
Right.
What about conquest?
And
How does
again,
that tie
right?
to-
I mean, this is like the looseful,
Yeah.
conceptual what
Yeah.
we're going to say, right?
Yeah.
But the Columbus's journey, right, and this encounter with the Native Americans, then set off 200, 300, 400 years of conquest that just began with Columbus. And he was not the worst of them, right? We're talking about the conquistadors. Right on through William Tecumseh Sherman and America's genocidal policies towards the Native Americans. We're talking about a legacy of conquest.
Okay, so like laying that all out through the
Visual. However, you know, we're going to tell that story, right?
Like MoMA or something, like you're going,
Exactly.
you know.
Right? In other words, Columbus is significant because he sets off these incredible world historic things that are still affecting us today, right around this table. Okay, right? So conquest is one of them, right? The other is slavery, right? He is the first slave trader, African slave trader in the New World. Okay, that sets off hundreds and hundreds of years of legacy,
of
history, right? Well, that goes right back to Columbus's shadow.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then what was the third
check
one?
this
The third was immigration, right? And here we got to deal
So
with
this would be the good, right? This would be the good, bad, and the ugly, right?
Well, this is the
would
good.
be the good part.
This is the good bad. Exactly. This would be the good bad, the good part of the story here. It is immigration, and immigration to the New World from all over the world. The fact is that the Columbus and the Spanish conquest doesn't just happen here. It happens in Asia. Now North America becomes like the center of world trade, of Asian migration, of European migration, African migration through slavery, and then migration between the Americas. So we're talking about Latin American migration, South American, Mexican, to the United States. So all those stories come together and can be told by looking at Columbus as the essential figure.
Like not just Italian, but it's like Latin America as almost like really it's what it sounds like, right?
During the time of slavery, saying they had entertainers, right, and they would have violinists, you know, these really good black violinists. I'll see pictures of them in random books, you know, but I still can't pick a name, you know. I can't pick a name off the top of my head, and the reason is that because that history was erased, and it's okay.
Maybe a statue just never got built for them.
Yeah, I know. Just maybe it's never happened for the black guy, or that black musician, and like that history was just erased, you know, and just maybe whatever, we just throw it over his shoulder, and like, but we can't do that with a European figure that came to conquest stuff. I'm just stating that.
Well, I mean, like, I'm just thinking, like, what would it look like? Let's say somebody got really pissed and the Native Americans wanted to take back the land that had an African American person up there. Exactly, that's what you would be doing to the Italians, in my opinion.
But here's the thing, though, right? Like we're talking about how this is an emotional subject.
We're not saying physically go and fight anybody. I'm just asking for change.
Yeah. But to me, it's got to be pragmatic. There's got to be a real solution. That's when I hear people talk about this issue. Sometimes they get angry, but there's no solution.
I just gave a couple possible solutions, and he gave a couple possible solutions. Do you have any solutions?
No. I mean, no. I'm trying to figure out what I think right now. So I'm just trying to figure out why we're bringing the holiday aspect into just a solution.
Because it's part of it. It's part of it. Because it's a possible solution. But I'm asking for your possible solution since you want to cut down these possible
solutions. I'm not doing it to cut down.
Okay.
Can I cut in here?
Yeah.
All right, listen, no, I want to come in because here's the thing is that I actually think your solution is really well thought through. It has a good point to it.
I do like it too.
I understand.
It's about education.
I also, but it's also.
And I was talking about education too, the parallels. I'm sorry.
It's also acknowledging the fact that these are the characters that are created, therefore these are the characters that we know. So why don't we then just add to the narrative so that's more thorough and it's more accurate, and I like that. I get it, I think that there's a point to it, but I think that what's gonna happen is that if we don't acknowledge the emotion that this brings up for a lot of people, people are gonna tune out.
You can't ignore that emotion.
It is emotional, and people are gonna feel crazy trying to express their emotion, trying to have it be validated, which it should be. And that's why when we want to say, like, okay, well, we're talking about the monuments, but we can't not, at a certain point, like, just, even if it's brief, connect it to, you know, what's up with this holiday, and this person as a figure in general that's being celebrated. One of the few figures that we have celebrated, and what that means for a lot of people, it feels very dismissive, not because, well, hey, we can add some things to it and then it becomes more accurate, which does make sense in terms of monuments. And like I said, I'm sold on what you're saying. But I think that piece of it, for Columbus specifically, who gets one of the 12 holidays that we get as a national holiday? That's pretty big.
But they don't want us to talk about those things. I feel these looks in the eyes. Maybe it's on the camera.
These are my skeptical eyes.
For a lot of people who are in tune with any sort of like oppression that anybody that they're related to is connected with, or anybody that feels empathic and is just tuned into that.
But
right?
you guys see the parallels
that's
though, or
something
no?
that you can't, if you don't talk about that piece, people are going to feel invalidated.
I understand, but you know,
emotion is a part of it.
You're right. No, emotion is definitely part of it, but it's very hard to get anywhere if we can't focus. And that's why I would like to focus on the discussion. I'd like to get more of your feedback on my ideas. Because even having this discussion, I've had ideas. You keep on bringing up the idea of other figures. And I think that would be an interesting addition, right? I mean, what if, you know, we have these figures that, you know, embody the conquest, embody the enslavement, embody the immigration experience, right? That they are part of the story. Individuals, I'm saying. You know what I mean? As part of the monument. It's an interesting idea.
As long as people being educated about the truth is like my main thing. It's like to take it down and name it something else. It's not even like my main thing. I'm not like necessarily I'm just looking for solutions where the people who are like who feel the stress from it, you know, because and of course when it gets, or if it gets changed, there's going to be stress from the other side too, you know. But like I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way where everybody can get a piece of what they want at least. You know?
In that, like,
you know?
I also think that often,
like whether it be like saying like enforcements about real history in the classrooms and like primary education, whether it be taking down a holiday, and like the whole thing you're talking about building and telling all the other parts of what's going on with Columbus. That's a great idea. A spade is a spade.
Oh, good.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not hating on that at all. You know, like if it is to say, you know, but yeah, it sounds good for that, you know. But like, but to take that, like, but I could see the whole education part. I would say, as long as people are getting the real truth, you know. But it's going to be more important in the classroom than the actual monument.
Of course,
you know,
without question. And here we now have the opportunity, right? You know, all these things are what, you know, in education they call the sort of educational opportunities, right? Where you can kind of teach this moment, right? Use this moment to teach. And one of the biggest kind of problems with the whitewashing of Columbus is that Americans don't have an understanding that our civilization was built in blood, it was built in slavery, it was built in crime and exploitation and conquest. And because we don't know that, we don't know that this is in our DNA, racial oppression and destruction and genocide, we don't accept that. We wind up getting ourselves into disaster after disaster, just thinking that we're doing good when we're not necessarily doing good.
What do you mean, like necessarily think we're doing good by doing what type of things are we talking about?
Starting wars that are so-called for freedom,
Like
where we're defending freedom in Vietnam, or we're bringing freedom to Iraq, or countless other
I feel like a lot
things,
of
where we say we view ourselves as being good. Everything we do is by definition good because we are good. Well, part of the problem is we don't know through our history we're not so good. Yeah, we got some good aspects, but we got a really mean, horrible, violent, oppressive streak. And by us acknowledging that that was there day one, as soon as Columbus saw the shore, right, it was there. Then I think we'll have a better chance to get a handle on it because we know the history. And we're not just denying it, which is what we've done.
What do you think?
No, that makes sense. As far as that's why I said the classroom is so important. So as long as what you're talking about is being taught in the classroom, if it's up with these extra pieces, with extra panels, or if it's down, saying like we still get that base, we still get this base of what we were just talking about right now, like because what you're saying is all good and valid to me. It feels good. My shoulders are down.
See, I knew we'd make it out of here, right?
Shoulder matrix.
We made it through the troubled waters, dude. We made it through. Can we cheers?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I feel like that.
No, that's a beautiful thing,
right? Yeah, because.
But as long as it's being taught in the classroom, that's the most important thing. Like as long as the people are getting, because the panel's not going to reach as many people as it's going to reach the classroom or take, and the taking down the holiday makes a lot of sense, But to stick with the mind.
Yeah, stick with the mind.
Yeah.
And this is what's so lacking in America today: the ability to have a conversation, so that we could actually communicate
and find a middle ground.
And actually say, you know what, I understand, I hear you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or let me explain a little bit further. That we don't do that anymore in America. We just dismiss each other. And this is what my vision for this campaign for music and democracy on the roof.
But you can see how I could have felt like that when I first tried to bring in the discussion of education, and when she first tried to bring in the discussion of holidays, it felt dismissed. Saying as soon as it was brought to the table.
Well, here's the thing with focus, though, right? Is that
we do it to each other.
Is that to say,
I did it to you.
in that
Oh yeah,
conversation,
we
right?
got it. Nothing. Ain't nothing. I'm not
I mean,
tripping.
we're all
There's more
it's
episodes to come.
fine.
You know what I'm saying?
But I don't want to lose that point because I think that it's important that what often happens with politics in general, and is probably happening less here because you actually are very, like you're in tune, you're empathic, like we can feel that's here.
Really?
But I do think that one thing that often rattles people with politics is that somebody tries to say something that's on their mind that's important to them, that's how they feel, and we're told to refocus. We're just focusing on this thing. We're not going to bring that up.
Well, we were. Now we can talk
Right?
about the holiday.
So, all right,
Let's
but
talk about the
here's the
holiday.
thing: is that in that moment, like we were meant to feel for a second, like we're being emotional, we're distracting the focus, and that for that moment, when we're trying to say, okay, but there's a connection there, and that this is a part of the context, that dismiss of it feels reinforcing of a power structure that exists, which is the problem in the first place. And if that could just be allowed in the conversation, it could even be brief. But if something is validated, then it doesn't go as far, right? Because you feel like, okay, you heard me.
Right.
So that's
I get it.
that's the whole reason
Yeah.
that I think it shouldn't be shut down. Like focus short.
Right. Well, that's what I was trying to do.
But I think that well, like let's say like when focus gets lost, right? And the group.
I just don't think that wasn't part of the focus.
No,
That's my
I mean
point.
like I think that's what
I
kind of
think it needs to be acknowledged as a part of it.
Yeah.
But I think what I see, like for instance, like it got heated a week ago, with people talking about this exact issue, and then people started
But why
just
does it
tearing
keep-
down
why does
monuments
it keep
because
getting heated?
they didn't. Well,
Why
because
does
that's what
it
I'm
keep
saying.
getting heated?
Well, I said it keeps getting heated because I
Because
don't think
people
us.
feel like they're heard.
Keep us.
I don't think that people are focusing enough long enough
I don't think I'm
to have
losing
that
focus.
conversation.
I don't think I'm losing
This is
No,
focus.
I'm not talking about you.
No, but I'm talking about me right now because
Okay.
I am getting heated.
Wait,
And it's because
Wait, I got.
Can we cut? Yeah. We could. Yeah. Okay.
we can.
Should we?
Hey, thanks for listening. Here's another one of our sponsors.
For Loop, To Loop brings you future fashion with a fantastic impact. The silicone loop necklaces come in assorted colors: black, white, turquoise, butterscotch, coral, gray, navy, purple, and rust, with sizes ranging from 17 to 30 inches. Pop them on for a splash of volume and presence without weight or the hassle of clips and hooks. Visit 4loop2loop.com. Use MEDCAB, MEDCAB, when ordering to get discounts. Make a statement.
Hey. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you to our sponsors again for helping us put these on and supporting everything that we do over here. But I really do hope you learned something from the episode also. And I know you're going to have your views. You might agree with some things I said. You might disagree. You might agree with some of the things the guest said, that David Eisenbach said. You might say and disagree, But you should definitely let us know how you feel. And feel free to continue the discussion. Some people feel that Columbus Day shouldn't even be a holiday, Some people love the day off, But let us know how you feel on Facebook, or hit us up on Gmail. That's the medcabpod@gmail.com. That's THEMEDCABPOD@gmail.com. The same thing for Instagram at THEMEDCABPOD. And for Twitter, it's just the Medcab. And that's THEMEDCAB. But right now we have coming up for you, the featured artist of this episode, Akie Bermiss. And the song that he's gonna do, that we have lined up for you, is Medicine. And I first saw him do this song, live, and the way this guy sings, he's got all the soul in his voice. And it's got like some gospel tones to it too. But I'm telling you, man, after you listen to this song, you will feel it in your chest. You're going to be walking around singing some of these lines. And I hope you guys enjoy the song. And please follow him on SoundCloud, check out his stuff, his music. That's Akie Bermiss. And all the info for him will be in the episode bio. So, all right, sit back, enjoy.
It's called Medicine. I'm not good, I'm not well, I'm told. Had a woman, she left, and now her trail's gone cold. I guess love will make you sick sometimes, hard to be sure. But your punishment may fit my crimes, even if it's not a cure. And when you visit me, I try to keep it polite. And when you kiss on me, I wanna turn out the lights. And put your fingertips on me, I guess I'm feeling alright. I suppose you just know your chemistry. Why don't you stay for the night and give me that medicine? I'll call you in the morning. Give me that medicine, I need it, baby. You could be my doctor, girl, and check me when you wanna. Give me that medicine, I need to take it. Give me that medicine, I'll call you in the morning. Give me that medicine, I need it, baby. You could be my doctor, girl, and check me when you wanna. Give me the medicine, I need it,